This ebook is brought to you by Egenvard 1998. Applications of Psychoanalytic Theory. Freud was an innovative speculator, probably more concerned with theory building than with treating sick people. He spent much of his time conducting therapy not only to help patients but to gain the insight into human personality necessary to expound psychoanalytic theory. This section looks at Freud's early therapeutic technique, his later technique, and his views on dreams and unconscious slips. Freud's early therapeutic technique. Prior to his use of the rather passive psychotherapeutic technique of free association, Freud had relied on a much more active approach. In Studies on Hysteria, Freud described his technique of extracting repressed childhood memories. I placed my hand on the patient's forehead or took her head between my hands and said, "You will think of it under the pressure of my hand. At the moment at which I relax my pressure you will see something in front of you or something will come into your head. Catch hold of it. It will be what we are looking for. Well, what have you seen or what has occurred to you?" On the first occasions on which I made use of this procedure, I myself was surprised to find that it yielded me the precise results that I needed. Indeed, such a highly suggestive procedure was very likely to yield the precise results Freud needed, namely, the confession of a childhood seduction. Moreover, while using both dream interpretation and hypnosis, Freud told his patients to expect that scenes of childhood sexual experiences would come forth. In his autobiography written nearly 30 years after he abandoned his seduction theory, Freud stated that under the pressure technique, a majority of his patients reproduced childhood scenes in which they were sexually seduced by some adult. When he was obliged to recognize that these scenes of seduction had never taken place, and that they were only fantasies which my patients had made up or which I myself had perhaps forced upon them, I was for some time completely at a loss. He was at a loss, however, for a very short time. Within days after his September 21, 1897, letter to Fliess, he concluded that the neurotic symptoms were not related directly to actual events but to fantasies. I had in fact stumbled for the first time upon the Oedipus complex. In time, Freud came to realize that his highly suggestive and even coercive tactics may have elicited memories of seduction from his patients and that he lacked clear evidence that these memories were real. Freud became increasingly convinced that neurotic symptoms were related to childhood fantasies rather than to material reality, and he gradually adopted a more passive psychotherapeutic technique. Freud's later therapeutic technique. The primary goal of Freud's later psychoanalytic therapy was to uncover repressed memories through free association and dream analysis. How therapy works by transforming what is unconscious into what is conscious. And it works only insofar as it is in a position to effect that transformation. More specifically, the purpose of psychoanalysis is to strengthen the ego, to make it more independent of the superego, to widen its field of perception and enlarge its organization, so that it can appropriate fresh portions of the ID. Where ID was, their ego shall be. With free association, patients are required to verbalize every thought that comes to their mind, no matter how irrelevant or repugnant it may appear. The purpose of free association is to arrive at the unconscious by starting with a present conscious idea and following it through a train of associations to wherever it leads. The process is not easy and some patients never master it. For this reason, dream analysis remained a favorite therapeutic technique with Freud. In order for analytic treatment to be successful, libido previously expended on the neurotic symptom must be freed to work in the service of the ego. This takes place in a two-phase procedure. In the first, all the libido is forced from the symptoms into the transference and concentrated there. In the second, the struggle is waged around this new object and the libido is liberated from it. The transference situation is vital to psychoanalysis. Transference refers to the strong sexual or aggressive feelings, positive or negative, that patients develop toward their analyst during the course of treatment. Transference feelings are unearned by the therapist and are merely transferred to her or him from patients' earlier experiences, usually with their parents. In other words, patients feel toward the analyst the same way they previously felt toward one or both parents. As long as these feelings manifest themselves as interest or love, transference does not interfere with the process of treatment but is a powerful ally to the therapeutic progress. Positive transference permits patients to more or less relieve childhood experiences within the non-threatening climate of the analytic treatment. However, negative transference in the form of hostility must be recognized by the therapist and explained to patients so that they can overcome any resistance to treatment. Resistance, which refers to a variety of unconscious responses used by patients to block their own progress in therapy, can be a positive sign because it indicates that therapy has advanced beyond superficial material. Freud noted several limitations of psychoanalytic treatment. First, not all old memories can or should be brought into consciousness. Second, treatment is not as effective with psychoses or with constitutional illnesses as it is with phobias, hysterias, and obsessions. A third limitation, by no means peculiar to psychoanalysis, is that a patient, once cured, may later develop another psychic problem. Recognizing these limitations, Freud felt that psychoanalysis could be used in conjunction with other therapies. However, he repeatedly insisted that it could not be shortened or modified in any essential way. Ideally, when analytic treatment is successful, patients no longer suffer from debilitating symptoms, they use their psychic energy to perform ego functions. And they have an expanded ego that includes previously repressed experiences. They do not experience a major personality change, but they do become what they might have been under the most favorable conditions. Dream analysis. Freud used dream analysis to transform the manifest content of dreams to the more important latent content. The manifest content of a dream is the surface meaning or the conscious description given by the dreamer, whereas the latent content refers to its unconscious material. The basic assumption of Freud's dream analysis is that nearly all dreams are wishfulgillments. Some wishes are obvious and are expressed through the manifest content, as when a person goes to sleep hungry and dreams of eating large quantities of delicious food. Most wish fulfillments, however, are expressed in the latent content and only dream interpretation can uncover that wish. An exception to the rule that dreams are wish fulfillments is found in patients suffering from a traumatic experience. Dreams of these people follow the principle of repetition compulsion rather than wish fulfillment. These dreams are frequently found in people with post-traumatic stress disorder who repeatedly dream of frightening or traumatic experiences. Freud believed that dreams are formed in the unconscious but try to work their way into the conscious. To become conscious, dreams must slip past both the primary and the final sensors. Even during sleep these guardians maintain their vigil, forcing unconscious psychic material to adopt a disguised form. The disguise can operate in two basic ways: condensation and displacement. Condensation refers to the fact that the manifest dream content is not as extensive as the latent level, indicating that the unconscious material has been abbreviated or condensed before appearing on the manifest level. Displacement means that the dream image is replaced by some other idea only remotely related to it. Condensation and displacement of content both take place through the use of symbols. Certain images are almost universally represented by seemingly innocuous figures. For example, the phallus may be symbolized by elongated objects such as sticks, snakes, or knives. The vagina often appears as any small box, chest, or oven. Parents appear in the form of the president, a teacher, or one's boss, and castration anxiety can be expressed in dreams of growing bald, losing teeth, or any act of cutting. Dreams can also deceive the dreamer by inhibiting or reversing the dreamer's affect. For example, a man with homicidal feelings for his father may dream that his father has died, but in the manifest dream content, he feels neither joy nor sorrow, that is, his affect is inhibited. Unpleasant feelings can also be reversed at the manifest dream level. For example, a woman who unconsciously hates her mother and would unconsciously welcome her extinction may dream of her mother's death. But the unconscious joy and hatred she feels is expressed as sorrow and love during the manifest level of the dream. Thus, she is fooled into believing that hate is love and that joy is sorrow. After the dream's latent, unconscious, content has been distorted and its affect inhibited or reversed, it appears in a manifest form that can be recalled by the dreamer. The manifest content, which nearly always relates to conscious or preconscious experience of the previous day, has little or no psychoanalytic significance, only the latent content has meaning. In interpreting dreams, Freud ordinarily followed one of two methods. The first was to ask patients to relate their dream and all their associations to it, no matter how unrelated or illogical these associations seemed. Freud believed that such associations revealed the unconscious wish behind the dream. If the dreamer was unable to relate association material, Freud used a second method, dream symbols, to discover the unconscious elements underlying the manifest content. The purpose of both methods, associations and symbols, was to trace the dream formation backward until the latent content was reached. Freud believed that dream interpretation was the most reliable approach to the study of unconscious processes and referred to it as the royal road to knowledge of the unconscious. Anxiety dreams offer no contradiction to the rule that dreams are wish fulfillments. The explanation is that anxiety belongs to the preconscious system, whereas the wish belongs to the unconscious. Freud reported three typical anxiety dreams: the embarrassment dream of nakedness, dreams of the death of a beloved person, and dreams of failing an examination. In the embarrassment dream of nakedness, the dreamer feels shame or embarrassment at being naked or improperly dressed in the presence of strangers. The spectators usually appear quite indifferent, although the dreamer is very much embarrassed. The origin of this dream is the early childhood experience of being naked in the presence of adults. In the original experience, the child feels no embarrassment, but the adults often register disapproval. Freud believed that wish fulfillment is served in two ways by this dream. First, the indifference of the spectators fulfills the infantile wish that the witnessing adults refrain from scolding. Second, the fact of nakedness fulfills the wish to exhibit oneself, a desire usually repressed in adults but present in young children. Dreams of the death of a beloved person also originate in childhood and are wish fulfillments. If a person dreams of the death of a younger person, the unconscious may be expressing the wish for the destruction of a younger brother or sister who was a hated rival during the infantile period. When the deceased is an older person, the dreamer is fulfilling the Oedipal wish for the death of a parent. If the dreamer feels anxiety and sorrow during the dream, it is because the affect has been reversed. Dreams of the death of a parent are typical in adults, but they do not mean that the dreamer has a present wish for the death of that parent. These dreams were interpreted by Freud as meaning that, as a child, the dreamer longed for the death of the parent, but the wish was too threatening to find its way into consciousness. Even during adulthood, the death wish ordinarily does not appear in dreams unless the affect has been changed to sorrow. A third typical anxiety dream is failing an examination in school. According to Freud, the dreamer always dreams of failing an examination that has already been successfully passed, never one that was failed. These dreams usually occur when the dreamer is anticipating a difficult task. By dreaming of failing an examination already passed, the ego can reason, I passed the earlier test that I was worried about. Now I'm worried about another task, but I'll pass it too. Therefore, I need not be anxious over tomorrow's test. The wish to be free from worry over a difficult task is thus fulfilled. With each of these three typical dreams, Freud had to search for the wish behind the manifest level of the dream. Finding the wish fulfillment required great creativity. For example, one clever woman told Freud that she had dreamed that her mother-in-law was coming for a visit. In her waking life, she despised her mother-in-law and dreaded spending any amount of time with her. To challenge Freud's notion that dreams are wish fulfillments, she asked him, where was the wish? Freud's explanation was that this woman was aware of Freud's belief that a wish lies behind every non-traumatic dream. Thus, by dreaming of spending time with a hated mother-in-law, the woman fulfilled her wish to spite Freud and to disprove his wish fulfillment hypothesis. In summary, Freud believed that dreams are motivated by wish fulfillments. The latent content of dreams is formed in the unconscious and usually goes back to childhood experiences, whereas the manifest content often stems from experiences of the previous day. The interpretation of dreams serves as the royal road to knowledge of the unconscious, but dreams should not be interpreted without the dreamer's associations to the dream. Latent material is transformed into manifest content through the dream work. The dream work achieves its goal by the processes of condensation, displacement, and inhibition of affect. The manifest dream may have little resemblance to the latent material. But Freud believed that an accurate interpretation will reveal the hidden connection by tracing the dream work backward until the unconscious images are revealed. Freudian slips. Freud believed that many everyday slips of the tongue or pen, misreading, incorrect hearing, misplacing objects, and temporarily forgetting names or intentions are not chance accidents but reveal a person's unconscious intentions. In writing of these faulty acts, Freud used the German Fehlleistung, or faulty function, but James Strachey, one of Freud's translators, invented the term Parapraxes to refer to what many people now simply call Freudian slips. Parapraxes or unconscious slips are so common that we usually pay little attention to them and deny that they have any underlying significance. Freud, however, insisted that these faulty acts have meaning, they reveal the unconscious intention of the person, they are not chance events but serious mental acts, they have a sense, they arise from the concurrent actions. Perhaps rather, the mutually opposing action of two different intentions. One opposing action emanates from the unconscious, the other, from the preconscious. Unconscious slips, therefore, are similar to dreams in that they are a product of both the unconscious and the preconscious. With the unconscious intention being dominant and interfering with and replacing the preconscious one. The fact that most people strongly deny any meaning behind their parapraxes was seen by Freud as evidence that the slip, indeed, had relevance to unconscious images that must remain hidden from consciousness. A young man once walked into a convenience store, became immediately attracted to the young female clerk, and asked for a six-pack of beer. When the clerk accused him of improper behavior, the young man vehemently protested his innocence. Examples such as this can be extended almost indefinitely. Freud provided many in his book, Psychopathology of Everyday Life, and many of them involved his own faulty acts. One day after worrying about monetary matters, Freud strolled the tobacco store that he visited every day. On this particular day, he picked up his usual supply of cigars and left the store without paying for them. Freud attributed his neglect to earlier thoughts about budgetary issues. In all Freudian slips, the intentions of the unconscious supplant the weaker intentions of the preconscious, thereby revealing a person's true purpose.